In the silent, sprawling tapestry of the cosmos, where island universes drift like motes of dust in a sunbeam, there is a kingdom of unusual stillness. It is the Virgo supercluster, a congregation of thousands of galaxies bound by the invisible threads of gravity. Among them, one reigns supreme, a vast, ancient, and eerily placid sphere of light known as M87. Unlike the vibrant, swirling arms of spiral galaxies, M87 is a behemoth of quietude, a ghostly orb of pale golden light, home to trillions of old stars. For millennia, it has hung in our sky, a distant smudge of cosmic fog, seemingly asleep. But from the heart of this slumbering giant, a whisper was detected. It was a rhythmic pulse, a flicker in the fabric of space-time so profound, so powerful, that it defied our understanding of cosmic engines. It was the heartbeat of a monster, and it hinted at a power source far more complex and terrifying than we had ever dared to imagine. This was not the simple roar of consumption, but the structured, deliberate thrum of a machine built from gravity and time itself. What is the true nature of the God throne at the center of this ancient galaxy? What force could make the most powerful object in the known universe tremble on a schedule? To answer this, we must journey across 55 million light-years, past curtains of glowing nebulae and the ghosts of devoured stars, to confront the eye of the storm itself. We must look into the abyss and understand, for the first time, the real power it wields. Now, let's begin. The galaxy M87 is not a place of vibrant youth, it is a relic, a monument to a violent past. It is an elliptical giant, a class of galaxy born not from the graceful collapse of a single gas cloud, but from the brutal, cannibalistic consumption of its neighbors. Over billions of years, it has acted as the gravitational center of the Virgo cluster, a cosmic spider at the heart of a web, pulling in and devouring hundreds of smaller galaxies. Their stars, stripped from their homes, were assimilated into its swelling, featureless halo. Their dust and gas were funneled toward its core, and their own central black holes were swallowed whole, merging into the single, gargantuan entity that now resides at M87's center. The evidence of this bloody history is written in its structure. It lacks the beautiful, star-forming spiral arms of galaxies like our own Milky Way. Instead, it is a diffuse, almost featureless spheroid, a city of ancient, yellowed stars on slow, decaying orbits. Its most striking features are its 10,000 globular clusters, dense, spherical swarms of ancient stars that orbit its core like a cloud of ghostly satellites. These are the undigested bones of its victims, the surviving nuclei of the galaxies it has consumed, eternal testaments to its insatiable hunger. This history of conquest forged a monster of unimaginable scale. If the Milky Way is a bustling metropolis, M87 is a continent-spanning empire, containing perhaps 200 times the mass and thousands of times the number of stars. To hold such a colossal structure together, to command the allegiance of trillions of suns across a million light-years, requires a center of gravity so extreme, so absolute, that it borders on the supernatural. For decades, we knew something titanic had to be lurking there, hidden behind a veil of stellar light and cosmic dust. We saw its influence in the frantic, terrified orbits of the stars nearest the core, whipped around an unseen point at millions of miles per hour. They were like planets orbiting a star, but the object they orbited was completely dark, and its mass was not that of a star, but of billions of them. At the heart of this ancient empire sits its monarch, a supermassive black hole. But to call it that is an understatement. This is not merely a celestial object, it is a gravitational god, a singularity so massive it warps the very meaning of space and time around it. Designated M87, it is a titan 6.5 billion times the mass of our Sun. If our own solar system's central star were a single grain of sand, M87 would be a mountain. The Sun itself would fit comfortably inside its event horizon millions of times over. For comparison, the black hole at the center of our own Milky Way, Sagittarius A, is a mere 4 million solar masses, a princeling before an emperor. M87 is one of the most massive black holes ever discovered, a true primordial beast that has been feeding since the dawn of the universe. Its event horizon, the point of no return, is a sphere of perfect darkness larger than our entire solar system. Within that boundary, gravity is no longer a force, it is a destiny. All paths lead inward. All futures collapse into a single, infinitely dense point. For eons, this entity was a ghost, its presence inferred but never seen. It was a perfect predator, defined only by the absence it created, the light it consumed, and the terror it inspired in the stars that orbited it. It was the silent engine driving the M87 galaxy, a source of unimaginable gravitational power, but we believed its story was simple, the story of consumption. It was a drain at the center of the universe, pulling matter in, growing ever larger, and giving nothing back. Its power was its hunger. But we were wrong. The silence was deceptive. The stillness was a lie. The monster was not just feeding, it was building. It was not a passive drain, but an active, churning, and terrifyingly dynamic machine. The truth of its power was not in what it took, but in what it created. To see the unseeable, to photograph a shadow 55 million light-years away, humanity conceived of a lens the size of a planet. The Event Horizon Telescope was not a single instrument but a global chorus of radio observatories, synchronized by atomic clocks, all staring at the same point in the sky. For 1 week in 2017, they listened, gathering not light, but the echoes of light, the radio waves emitted by matter heated to billions of degrees as it spiraled into oblivion. The data they collected was a torrent, petabytes of information flown on hard drives, too vast for the internet. It was a message in a bottle, sent from the edge of eternity, and it took 2 years to decode. When the image was finally assembled, it was a revelation that silenced the world. It was not a photograph of a black hole, for that is impossible. It was a photograph of its silhouette, a portrait of its shadow cast against the brilliant backdrop of its own glowing accretion disk. There, suspended in the void, was a perfect circle of darkness, surrounded by a lopsided ring of fire. It was a cosmic eye, staring back at us across the unfathomable gulf of intergalactic space. The light in that ring had a story to tell. It was the last scream of matter being torn apart. As gas, dust, and the remnants of shredded stars are pulled toward the event horizon, they don't fall straight in. They are caught in a gravitational whirlpool, the accretion disk, spinning at nearly the speed of light. Friction and magnetic turbulence within this disk heat the material to temperatures hotter than the core of any star, causing it to glow with unimaginable brilliance. The light we saw was from this final, incandescent spiral. Its lopsided shape was a direct consequence of Einstein's relativity. The side of the disk spinning toward us was brightened by the Doppler effect, while the side spinning away was dimmed. It was a direct visualization of spacetime being dragged and twisted by the black hole's immense rotation. This image was more than a scientific triumph, it was a philosophical milestone. We had seen the abyss. But the shadow and its fiery ring were only the beginning of the story. They were the setting. The true drama, the source of M87's hidden power, was erupting from the very center of that darkness. From the heart of M87, from the polar regions of the spinning abyss, erupts one of the most spectacular and violent phenomena in the entire universe, a relativistic jet. This is a colossal, focused beam of plasma, particles, and radiation, ejected from the black hole's immediate vicinity at over 999% the speed of light. It is a cosmic blowtorch of unimaginable proportions, a pillar of fire that stretches for over 5,000 light-years into space, far beyond the visible edge of the galaxy's central bulge. This jet is the great paradox of black holes. How can an object defined by its inescapable gravity, a cosmic prison from which not even light can escape, be the source of the most powerful expulsion of energy in its galactic domain? The answer lies in the maelstrom just outside the event horizon. The jet is not made of matter that has crossed the boundary and somehow escaped. It is forged from the material of the accretion disk, the superheated plasma in its final, frantic death spiral. Before this matter takes its final plunge, a fraction of it is caught in a cosmic accelerator and violently flung away. This jet is M87's voice, its declaration of power. It is a weapon that shapes its host galaxy. As it plows through the interstellar medium, it creates vast shockwaves, heating gas to millions of degrees and inflating enormous bubbles in the galactic halo. It acts as a galactic thermostat, a feedback mechanism that regulates the birth of new stars. In some regions, its passage compresses clouds of gas, triggering bursts of star formation. In others, its sterilizing radiation and violent shock fronts blow gas clouds apart, preventing them from collapsing and forming stars for millions of years. For decades, we saw this jet as a constant, steady stream, the fire hose of energy pouring endlessly from the galactic core. We believed it was a byproduct of the black hole's feeding, a messy consequence of its gargantuan appetite. But the new, deeper observations, the ones that captured this heartbeat, revealed that this beam of energy was not steady at all. It was alive. It was moving. And its motion held the key to the black hole's true, hidden power. The secret to the jet's creation lies in a symphony of physics so extreme it verges on magic. The process begins with two key ingredients, the furious spin of the black hole itself and the powerful magnetic fields threaded through the accretion disk. M87 is not a static point, it is a spinning dynamo, rotating at a significant fraction of the speed of light. This rotation is so immense that it doesn't just spin the black hole, it spins spacetime itself. In a phenomenon known as frame dragging, the very fabric of the universe is twisted into a vortex around the event horizon. Meanwhile, the accretion disk, a churning sea of ionized gas, carries with it immensely powerful magnetic fields. As the disk spirals inward, these magnetic field lines are dragged along with it, becoming concentrated and tangled near the black hole's poles. Here, the magic happens. The spinning spacetime of the black hole grabs hold of these magnetic field lines, which are anchored in the accretion disk, and twists them into colossal, tightly wound coils. These coils act like a cosmic particle accelerator. The immense rotational energy of the black hole itself is transferred, via these magnetic springs, into the plasma of the disk. Particles, electrons, positrons, are caught in this rapidly rotating magnetic field and are flung outward along the black hole's rotational axis, the path of least resistance. This is the Blandford's-Nagic process, and it is one of the most efficient energy extraction mechanisms in the universe. The black hole is not just a consumer, it is an engine. It converts its own rotational energy, the kinetic energy of its spin, into the raw power of the jet. The accretion disk provides the fuel and the magnetic conduits, but the black hole's spin is the dynamo. It is a cosmic generator, tapping into the energy of its own gravitational field to power a beam that can reshape a galaxy. This understanding explained the existence of the jet, but it assumed a stable, aligned system. It assumed the engine ran smoothly. The newly detected wobble, the rhythmic pulse, showed us that the engine was anything but smooth. It was grinding. It was fighting itself. The latest, most precise observations from the Event Horizon Telescope and other radio arrays have revealed something astonishing. The base of M87's jet is not static. It is not firing straight out like a laser beam. Instead, it is precessing, wobbling like a child's spinning top just before it falls. Over a cycle of approximately 11 years, the direction of the jet's launch point sweeps around in a circle. This was the rhythmic heartbeat we had detected from 55 million light-years away. It was not a fluctuation in brightness or a change in the amount of fuel falling in. It was a physical, mechanical wobble in the orientation of the entire engine system. This discovery shattered the image of a stable, steady-state machine. A steady engine does not wobble. A perfectly balanced system does not oscillate. This precession was a symptom of a deep, fundamental conflict at the very heart of the black hole system. Something was off-kilter. Something was misaligned. The implications were profound. A wobbling jet means that the immense power being unleashed is not constant in its direction. It sweeps across the galactic core like a searchlight, or perhaps more accurately, like a celestial lawn sprinkler of devastating energy. This explains long-standing puzzles about the inner regions of M87, such as asymmetric heating patterns and strangely shaped radio lobes. The jet was not just a constant pressure, it was a rhythmic, sweeping force, periodically blasting different regions of the surrounding medium. But what could possibly be powerful enough to force a system driven by a 6.5 billion solar mass black hole to wobble? The force couldn't be external, no star or cluster of stars could exert that kind of influence. The source of the wobble had to be internal to the engine itself. It had to be a flaw, an imperfection in the very heart of the machine. And in that imperfection, we would find the black hole's true, dynamic power. The mystery shifted from what the jet was, to why it was so unstable. The answer would require us to look at the relationship between the two central components of the engine, the spinning black hole and the accretion disk that feeds it. The resolution to the mystery of the wobbling jet lies in a concept both simple and cosmically profound: misalignment. The engine of M87 is composed of two primary rotating components, the black hole itself, with its own spin axis, and the accretion disk, which orbits the black hole in a specific plane. For decades, our models had naturally assumed that these two components would be in perfect harmony, that the accretion disk would orbit in the same equatorial plane that the black hole spins in. It was a neat, orderly, and stable assumption. And it was wrong. The new data suggests that the spin axis of the M87 black hole is tilted relative to the plane of its accretion disk. They are not aligned. Imagine a spinning planet whose equator is tilted relative to the plane of its rings. This is the situation at the heart of M87, but on a scale of unimaginable energy and violence. This cosmic misalignment creates a titanic gravitational struggle. The immense gravity of the black hole, dictated by its equatorial bulge from its rapid spin, tries to pull the tilted accretion disk into alignment. This is known as the Lentz-Thirring effect, a relativistic form of torque. It is the black hole trying to force the disk to submit to its own rotational plane. However, the accretion disk has its own colossal angular momentum. It resists this gravitational pull. It does not want to change its orientation. The result is not a swift realignment, but a grinding, eternal war between the space-time twisted by the black hole's spin and the momentum of the infalling matter. The accretion disk itself is warped and twisted by this conflict, but it is the jet, born from this system, that most clearly expresses the struggle. Because the jet is launched perpendicular to the innermost part of the accretion disk, and that part of the disk is being violently torqued by the misaligned black hole, the jet is forced to precess. The 11-year wobble is the direct, observable timescale of this gravitational battle. It is the rhythm of a cosmic engine tearing itself apart and yet, in doing so, broadcasting its power across the galaxy. This is the true power of M87, not just its mass, not just its spin, but the dynamic, violent, and creative energy unleashed by its fundamental imperfection. The consequences of this rhythmic, precessing jet ripple outward, shaping the entire ecosystem of the M87 galaxy on a scale that is difficult to comprehend. The 11-year cycle of the wobble at the base is only the beginning. As the jet travels outward at near light speed, this small wobble translates into a grand, sweeping motion. The beam of energy acts like a colossal, cosmic scythe, harvesting and reshaping the interstellar medium. Over millions of years, this sweeping motion has carved out vast cavities and bubbles in the hot, X-ray emitting gas that fills the galaxy's halo. We have observed these structures for years, vast voids in the gas hundreds of thousands of light-years across, but their precise origin was a mystery. Now we understand them as the long-term consequence of the jet's precession. They are the scars left behind by millions of sweeps of the energy beam. Each pass of the jet creates a powerful shockwave that propagates through the galactic gas, heating it and pushing it aside. The rhythmic nature of this process means the galaxy is not just being steadily pushed upon, but is being rhythmically stirred by its central engine. This stirring action has profound implications for the galaxy's evolution. It prevents the vast reservoir of hot gas in the halo from cooling and collapsing toward the center. Without this constant injection of energy from the wobbling jet, this gas would rain down onto the galactic core, triggering a runaway burst of star formation that would fundamentally change the galaxy's nature. M87 is therefore not just a passive gravitational anchor, it is an active and crucial regulator of its environment. Its power, born from the chaotic misalignment at its core, imposes a form of violent order on the entire galactic system. The rhythmic heartbeat of the black hole becomes the metronome for the life and death of stars on a galactic scale. The imperfection of the central engine is precisely what allows the galaxy to maintain its long-term stability, preventing it from burning through its fuel too quickly. The flaw is not a weakness, it is the essential feature that defines the relationship between the black hole and its kingdom. The true power of the M87 black hole, then, has finally been uncovered. It is not the brute force of its 6.5 billion solar mass gravity. It is not the simple, gluttonous consumption of stars and gas. It is not even the raw, spectacular energy of its relativistic jet. The true power of M87 is born from a fundamental, cosmic disharmony. It is the power of a dynamic, grinding, and imperfect dance between the spin of the singularity and the matter it is fated to consume. This power arises from the misalignment, the eternal torque between the black hole's axis and its accretion disk. This cosmic struggle, this gravitational war, transforms the black hole from a mere sink of matter into a dynamic, rhythmic engine, a precessing lighthouse of creation and destruction that sweeps across its domain, regulating its climate and dictating its fate. We began our journey with a mysterious whisper from the heart of a silent, ancient galaxy. We traveled across an ocean of spacetime to witness a ring of fire at the edge of oblivion. We marveled at the impossible pillar of light erupting from the darkness, and we puzzled over its inexplicable wobble. Now we see the truth. The whisper was the rhythm of a cosmic conflict. The wobble was the motion of a flawed but mighty engine. And the jet was the tangible expression of a power source not from perfection, but from a beautiful, violent, and fundamental imbalance. Perhaps this is a deeper lesson of the cosmos. Perhaps the most profound and creative forces in the universe are not born from perfect symmetry and serene harmony, but from tension, from conflict, from the magnificent and chaotic interplay of misaligned forces. M87 teaches us that even at the heart of the deepest darkness, in the grip of the most absolute power, it is the imperfection that gives rise to the most awesome and galaxy-shaping phenomena. The monster at the heart of the Virgo cluster is not just a destroyer. It is a sculptor, a regulator, a king whose unsteady crown shapes an entire empire of trillions of stars. What would you have done if you could witness it? If you could stand on a world within that ancient galaxy and see, every 11 years, the base of that celestial beam shift in your sky, a silent, slow, and terrifying reminder of the imperfect God that ruled your fate.